Hey everyone, what's up? It's Fiona. So today we're going to be tackling about 3 or 4 thrift flips. This is totally depending on whether or not I completely fail at one. So out of the 3 or 4, a couple of them will be relatively simple and a couple of them will be a little bit more advanced, so there's something for everyone in this video. I'll also be trying to show how you can do these thrift flips at home if you don't have a sewing machine, since not everybody has access to a sewing machine. Although if you are able to get out to the thrift stores and look at your local one, I actually thrifted my first sewing machine and it was super cheap. It was like 10 or 15 bucks and everything worked. And there's so much sewing supplies at the thrift stores as well. So if you're really wanting to use a sewing machine for these, I would highly recommend checking out your thrift store and see what they have. So we'll be flipping a pullover sweater into a sweater vest, which is my first time doing this and I'm really excited to see how it turns out. And we're also going to be altering a dress to fit a bit better and shortening it slightly. And another one is we're going to be turning a pair of pants into a skirt. So if you like DIY or sewing content, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe down below and hit that like button. It really helped me out. I think that's everything for me for this intro, and let's get into the thrift flips. Alright, so starting off with the sweater vest. I love sweater vests. I've been obsessed with them the last few months. These are some of my inspirations I took from Pinterest. So this is the sweater I started out with. I loved the green color. It was the first thing that drew me to it, and the stripes on the neck. So my thought was to crop it a little bit and also remove the sleeves. So this is going to be pretty simple. I started by marking where I wanted to crop the sweater vest to. Remember with this, just make sure that you're going slightly longer because we are going to be hemming it. You don't have to hem it, you could leave it raw, but just to make sure that there's no fraying and stuff at the end, I will be hemming it. And then taking my fabric scissors, I just cut the arms off at the seam, and I left these just a regular raw edge because it was going to be really difficult to hem the arms, and this material was extremely hard to work with, so maybe you would prefer to hem the arms, or maybe you could use bias tape for this, but personally I just decided to leave them be. So I flipped the sweater vest inside out, and then I started folding up my hem. I did about 2 centimeters for this, and just to make sure that everything was really accurate, I went along the entire bottom of the sweater, measuring and ironing down before I pinned. So if you don't have a sewing machine, this would be really handy for you. It's kind of like a fusible tape, and you could put it under your hem and just iron it down. And actually for this, I think I would have preferred using that just because this material is really stretchy, and that would have prevented it from stretching even with all the precautions I took during this process. So after I sewed that down with a zigzag stitch, as you can see, the hem is really kind of ripply and it makes it look a bit like a skirt. So I had to flip it inside out again and just adjust the sides by kind of making a bit of a dart. But I avoided the armhole with this just because I didn't want to make that smaller. And this is how it ended up. It was okay. I'm not super happy with the hem, but maybe in the future I can adjust it a bit more. So to recap, this is what we started out with. and this is the final product. I'm actually pretty happy with this one. I've had no issues with the armholes so far, and I think I cropped it the perfect amount. I also think you can wear this with a button up underneath, or wear it as like a kind of cute knitted crop top for summertime. I think it'll work both ways. Next, we're moving on to one of the favorite thrift finds I've had in a long time, and it's this kind of collared country club looking dress. When I found it, I was so excited, but when I got it home, it looked a lot like, I don't know, like I was going to go golfing or something in it. So I just wanted to adjust it a little bit, make it a bit tighter, perhaps take the hem up a bit. And these are like some of the inspiration photos I take from Pinterest. I had these saved for a while, so I was really happy I found this dress and I could replicate that style. So first, I took a dress that fit me really well. It was a bodycon dress, laid it on top of my piece and marked the sides down. Then I took it to my sewing machine and I decided to use a zigzag stitch to sew down the sides with this one because the material was really stretchy, and so that way the thread wouldn't break. Then I just cut the excess material off, and that's it for this thrift flip. So that's the beginning, what we started out with. And then this is the final product. I think it just fits a lot better now. I didn't end up making it shorter because I think making it tighter actually just helped that issue that I was having. But yeah. So this is the most complicated flip that I think I've ever done, but I got these pants off of ThredUp about a month or two ago, and I love the color, but unfortunately they were a little bit too small and not quite my style, so I wanted to replicate these cute summer shorts with them. So first I tried the pants on and I marked where I wanted them to be at, and then I marked about a couple inches lower than that. I just wanted to really make sure that I was being safer with the length of the shorts at the beginning, because you can always take off but you can't really add on. So I cut that off, and then you're gonna save those two pieces on the side. And then I used my seam ripper and I seam ripped everything off of the waist of the pants. So I started by seam ripping the waistband off, and then I also continued with seam ripping the zipper off as well and all of the buttons. So I took some measurements of the existing shorts, the length, the upper thigh width, and also the lower thigh width. This is just going to give me an idea of how much I need to add on to the sides. So these are the extra pant legs that I cut off, and I'm just going to seam rip these open, and this is going to be the fabric I'm going to work with to make my waistband and the two panels. So these are the triangle panels that I ended up with. I added 4 inches to the top and 6 inches to the bottom on each side. This might seem like really severe, but I wanted the shorts to be a bit more loose fitting and casual. So I'm going to take my panel and place it right sides together on the shorts. And now I'm sewing just a straight stitch with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance to get the triangles sewed down to the side of the shorts. So after this process, your shorts should look like this. The panels will be sewn to the sides, and then you're just gonna kind of repeat the same process, right sides together, and then pin and sew the panels to the last part of the shorts. my pants had darts in them and I had unpicked them at the beginning, but I actually decided to sew a couple of them back down just for a better fit, because otherwise it looked a bit awkward to me. Now I'm measuring the waist of the pants. I'm just measuring the half waist, so I think I got something like 20 inches, and then I'm using that measurement to transfer it onto the extra fabric I have, and since it was a shorter amount of fabric, I had to do 2 times that and sew them together, which kind of worked out perfectly because it was the exact amount I needed for the half waist measurement, and the width of these are 4 inches. And then I just sewed those right sides together to form a loop for our waistband. Then I pinned the waistband right sides together with the shorts, and I just sewed a straight stitch to attach that.
You're always talking about leaving, milk carton, black and white face, smile vacant for the picture, parents waiting in the driveway.
Now I split the waist into quarters or fourths, I guess, just so it'll make it easier to attach the elastic. And then after this, I measured my waist with the elastic, and then I did the same with the elastic. I divided it into fourths. This is just going to make the process of pinning it and sewing it together a lot easier. Here I'm sewing the sides of the elastic together with a zigzag stitch to secure it. And this is where we use those fourths measurements, and we line them up and pin the elastic to the waistband. And using my overlocker, I just overlocked the elastic to the waistband while pulling on the elastic to serge them all together. Then I just used a straight stitch. I flipped my waistband over, and you're supposed to stitch the ditch. I had some issues with that, but I just kind of did a straight stitch around. You can't really see it. Preferably you do this with matching thread. And then I just followed a tutorial on a cuff, a shorts cuff, and I will link that down below. So these are the pants that we started out with. And this is the final product. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think the panels blend really well into the shorts, and I think I'll definitely get a lot of use out of them this summer.